Welcome, everybody, to the post-Super Bowl edition of the Off Base Podcast. The podcast carefully crafted, the big yawn, carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one. I'm your host. I am the Rocky Mountain no-name jackass, and it is 40 degrees in the city of Aurora at 8:05 in the a.m. on Monday, February 14th, 2022. That would be Valentine's Day. Lots of stuff going on. Let me actually get the chaw in first, and then we'll go from there. My wife's least favorite part of the podcast. I'm worried about my little guy this morning because he woke up and threw up. Don't know why. He made it to the toilet this time, which was good. Last time that he had thrown up in the middle of the night, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think. He just put his head over his bed and threw up on the floor. But he made it to the bathroom today, which was good, so we didn't have to clean it up. I still got to go check it, though, when I get back home, because I hadn't known. Well, he told me that he threw up when he came downstairs. He also had a bloody nose for the first time, so I helped clean him up, and he said he felt fine. He also sounded fine. But then when we were on our way to school, he had covered his mouth, and then he sits in the back right behind me. My stepdaughter sits on the other side. And all of a sudden she goes, Benji's like dying. I was like, what? So I pulled over. He had his hand over his mouth, and he had to throw up again. He threw up. And you could see all the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s that he had eaten last night. So I'm hoping it was just that, because, again, I felt him. He didn't feel hot. He said that he felt fine. He also sounded fine. He also said after throwing up that he felt better. So I hope the little guy's okay. Just turned 9. Hope he's going to be all right. Man, a lot of different things that I'm thinking about right now. It just reminded me of we watched Man of Steel yesterday before the Super Bowl. And the first hour and a half of that movie is really, really good storytelling. There are about 4 or 5 times in there that I was watching what Clark was going through as a young kid and felt like I was going to cry. I was like, oh my God, that's touching. And it really was. And that's why I guess it's reminding me of my son, because I'm feeling for him this morning. I'm hoping that he's okay. Probably email his teachers and be like, hey, can you keep an eye on him today, because he threw up twice this morning, but he felt fine, no fever, and sounded fine. So the other thing, a couple other things that are on my mind, obviously the Super Bowl. Congratulations going out to the Los Angeles Rams. Although I got to say, they won the game, but that final drive, it's like they had. I would have scored too if I would have had 32 plays to get it in. The refs with those ticky-tack fucking penalties that they were calling. Oh my God. That was horrific. And then Cooper Kupp gets MVP. Why? He had 4 catches for like 40 yards. One of them was the winning touchdown, but it's like he wasn't the most valuable player of the game. I would have given it to the Rams defensive line, if anything. What was it, 7 sacks they had on Joe Burrow? Anyway, there's that's on my mind. Also, my wife, she is in San Antonio right now. She took a trip down there because our best friends from San Antonio, or her best friend from San Antonio, her daughter is being inducted into the Air Force, and they asked my wife to do the induction. So my wife was back there with all of our old friends. We were texting the whole time yesterday, FaceTiming yesterday. She was having the time of her goddamn life. And she's been struggling on where to ultimately move after she's done in the Air Force, whether it's back to Texas or back to Florida. And last night she was like, yeah, we're moving back to Texas. She was really having a great time. That was crystal clear. So I was very happy for her. And I could go on a little bit more about that, but also there's the game, there's my wife, there's my son, and my stepdaughter was fucking hysterical this morning. Look at this girl. She is not, by any stretch of the means, a good speller in any way, shape, or form, and she never has been, like, since kindergarten. Like, when I would do her homework with her, I would just quiz her on certain little words, but she still didn't know how to spell them. So her spelling skills have not been very good at all. And, why should they be? Because there's so many but just programs that will correct your spelling on things, whether it's on a phone or on a computer for word processor or email or whatever. And all the kids that are her age, they can't spell worth the shit. Like, she was showing us reviews of schools, of her middle school, that students who went there wrote the reviews, and these were the most unintelligible, illiterate fucking reviews you could ever see. One kid, I'm telling you, he misspelled 75% of his review. Punctuation, horrific. Capitalization, horrific. It was incoherent, but somewhere in there the kid said that he had a 4.3 GPA. I'm like, what? Oh, I wish I could just take a copy and show you guys right now. Oh my God, it was horrific. And there were like 3 of them like that, where you just could not understand what these people were writing, because their writing was so bad. Now, when we were growing up, we had bad writers, but at least they knew how to spell. They knew how to use punctuation. Oh my God. It's like, technology's good for certain things, but it's horrific for others, like Twitter. You got 140 characters and, people doing all abbreviations, IDKs, LOLs, blah, blah, blah. But it just engenders a generation of kids that just, they cannot communicate. So, anyway, getting back to the story. We dropped my son off, and again, he looked good. He sounded good. And it's Valentine's Day. I want him to enjoy the day. That shouldn't be a reason for him to stay in school if he's sick. But he didn't seem sick, so I didn't want to take him back. And he said his stomach felt better. So I was like, okay. So we're driving along after we dropped him off, and my stepdaughter says, like out of the blue, she goes, I know how to spell obsession. She's very funny, by the way. Her sense of humor is phenomenal. And I was like, oh, yeah? And she was like, yeah, because there's this song, and she was named the name of the song in the band. And I was like, oh, well, there's multiple ways of learning how to do stuff. And if you can learn to do it through a song that you like, I was like, that's great. And she goes, you want me to spell it? And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. She goes, okay, obsession. OBSS. What'd she say? OBSSI, and she started trailing off the rest of the letters, and me and my stepson just started laughing. We're like, we start cracking up, and she goes, okay, so I missed a letter, and I was like, yeah, you also changed one of the vowels too. So we kept teasing her about it, and she was being very good-natured too, because I even said to her at one point, I said, hey, stepdaughter, there are many things that I'm good at, and there are many things that I suck at. I said, I suck at reading. I said, it takes me about 2 or 3 times to read something before I fully understand it. I said, to be honest with you, since I have known you, you have never been a good speller. And, we were laughing about that. And so she kept trying to spell obsession, and she kept spelling it wrong. She kept saying OBSS, 2 S's, and an I. She kept saying it like that. So we're getting closer to her school. We're making the turn around the corner, and they have a sign in front of the school. It says something about check the marquee for blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I know how to spell marquee. And I was like, okay. She goes, M-A-Q. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. You just spelled marquee. So she was cracking up even further then, because that's not the end of the story. Because we kept, we were continuing to laugh about her horrific spelling skills. And then we finally got off to their drop-off point. We were going to say goodbye to them in the morning. And my stepson, he's getting out of the car. He's still laughing, telling her she's spelling it wrong. I'm going back to obsession, this is now, instead of marquee. And she gets all of her stuff. She's packed up. She has her backpack on her arm. She has her violin in her hand. And right when she's about to close the door, she leans into me. Well, first I said to her, okay, hey, make sure you go into school and you learn how to spell. And she turned around, she goes, fine, O-B-S-S-E-I-O-N. She got mad and slammed the door and laughed. And that was the worst spelling of obsession that she did all morning, was the last one. So that was fun this morning. So as bad as I felt about my son, it was balanced by my stepdaughter's horrific spelling skills. Oh my God, I gotta pee. So anyway, Super Bowl, we'll get to that. I was all excited because I had invited our friends from Colorado Springs up, and I had invited both of our neighbors up. Excuse me, not up, but just invited them over to watch the game. Unfortunately, our friends from Colorado Springs canceled earlier in the week because the wife was going out of town. Garbage just flew out of this truck. And I don't know why the husband and the kids didn't come up. They could have. But anyway, our neighbors had to cancel too because old Vladimir Putin over there in Russia is thinking about invading Ukraine. By the way, people, it's not the Ukraine. We don't call it the France. Anyway, because of Putin's threats to invade Ukraine, my next door neighbors, one of them was in charge of satellite missile detection for the world, so it makes sense that he couldn't come. And then the other one is in charge of the entire base, so he couldn't come. And I had texted both of them earlier. I was like, look, guys, I understand that your ability to watch the Super Bowl is going to be completely dependent on whether or not Vladimir Putin enjoys American football. And they sent texts back joking, haha, yeah. Putin doesn't understand how much Americans love football. But anyway, so we ended up watching the game. I was going to make meatball subs and chicken wings. And I ended up making like 40 meatballs. I only ate about, I think, 6. Because I think I had 2 subs. So I got a ton of meatballs left over. Which is great. Because now we got food for the week. And then you got the chicken wings. Here's a funny story. I was telling the kids about this on the way to school this morning. So I couldn't find chicken wings at all at the commissary, and there were 2 other grocery stores that I had been to over the course of the end of last week in preparation for Super Bowl Sunday. Couldn't find chicken wings. And I knew that there had been a chicken wing shortage. So what I ended up doing instead was just getting, it was like 5-6 pounds of chicken breast, and I just ended up slicing them into fingers. And it was 5-6 pounds of chicken breast for like $10. It's like, it's a fucking awesome deal. So we ended up, only eating like half of them yesterday. And then we'll have the other half tonight, so. But when I dropped my wife off at the airport yesterday morning, I had to stop at the store to pick up some flour for the breading that we put on the chicken breast. And the store that I did stop at, one I didn't stop at previously, did have chicken wings, frozen chicken wings. And it was like $1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of chicken wings for like $13, $14. I was like, what the fuck? I just got 5 to 6 pounds of chicken breast for 10. And you're selling me 2 pounds of chicken wings for 14? I was like, fuck that, man. I'm going to stick with our chicken fingers. That was some bullshit right there, boy. So anyway, we get to the game. And that was a good game. It really was. The defensive battle. Cincinnati Bengals. Their run defense was pretty fucking awesome. I was very impressed with that. And then, of course, the Rams, their pass rush was really strong. Like I said, 7 sacks they had on Joe Burrow. But that end of that game, man, I'm telling you, that final drive that the Rams had, it was a great drive. And then they get into the red zone. And what looked to be some pretty solid defense got called for some ticky-tack pass interference holding bullshit. And there were, the game was great in the fact that there weren't a whole hell of a lot of yards on penalties. It wasn't like the Raiders were playing or something like that. What the hell was that one playoff game that I watched where it's like every other down was a fucking penalty? It's like, dude, don't you guys know the rules? But Super Bowl was pretty much penalty-free until that final drive. I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't know, conspiracy theory or what, but it really felt like some mobbed up refs on that, man. That was some bullshit. Anyway, this was one of the, I think, as far as I can remember, the first Super Bowl ever that I could have cared less about the commercials. I didn't even really pay attention to them when they were on. Same thing with the halftime show, even though I'm a fan of Snoop Dogg and Eminem. I actually fell asleep during the halftime show. I kind of wanted to watch it, kind of didn't, but I had been drinking since 11. Not heavily, just drinking all day. I had myself a French 75 to start things off, and a glass of Chianti while I was making the meatballs. And I switched to a Moscow Mule. I had some beers. So to take that little nap there at halftime, that was perfect. It was beautiful. Got me recharged for the second half. And then, like I was saying, all throughout the game, my wife was hanging out with our friends back in Texas, and I was texting with one of the husbands. He's a big football fan. He's like a football encyclopedia. So he and I were texting about the game the whole time, and they FaceTimed me a couple different times. The second to last time they FaceTimed me, like, it was at that point where, like, almost all of our old friends had gone over to the house to meet up and watch the game and hang out with my wife. And my wife FaceTimes me on that Rams final drive. There's like 1 minute and 30 left to go. And there's so much noise going on her side that I couldn't understand what anybody was saying. Her picture kept going in and out and freezing. And I was like, why are you FaceTiming me with 1.5 minutes left in the game? How dare you? And then one of the husbands, he just said to me, he said, no, go watch this game. Just hang up, go watch this game. I said, thank you. So, but it was really nice to see all of our friends together. And also very nice to see how much my wife was enjoying hanging out with all of our friends again. Because that has been one thing that's weighing on her as of late, which is, number one, to continue with her military career, if it's possible that she can get an even more important position for her next job. They're actually going through the cycle right now, but you won't find out until summer of 2023. So she's weighing whether or not to stay in, and then if she does get out, where are we going to end up? Florida or Texas? She really wants to go to Florida. She loves living close to the beach, but housing prices in Northwest Florida are so expensive that it's extremely silly for us to buy down there right now. Versus Texas, which of course is elevated along with everything else, but not anywhere near as elevated as Florida is. Like when we first got our house in Texas, I think it was 2013, I think we paid somewhere around $325, I'll say, for the house, which was great. And in the same neighborhood now, I think they probably appreciated maybe 25%. But that's fine compared to some of the Florida houses that my wife was looking at, which are, close to $1 million. And it's like, oh my God, you're going to be paying this off for the entirety of the rest of your life. Get a house in Texas for $400,000, have that thing paid down by the time we're 55, 60, and then, just enjoy life. Not have to worry about mortgage payments, paying somebody else. So we'll see. I'm still thinking about my boy. Poor little guy. He just wasn't feeling it this morning. Hope he's okay. Telling you, one of the worst feelings is getting that call from the school saying, hey, so-and-so is in the nurse's office. And then, your mind immediately goes to the worst, or at least mine does. So I'll send that email as soon as I get home. Be like, hey, keep an eye on him. Anyway, here we are. I'm back in line to get scanned, to get back on the base. It's a beautiful morning, not a cloud in the sky. Mountains look great. Got that fabulous view coming up. I gotta go to the bathroom too. Excuse me. Anyway, stepson and I have our pool routine, P-U-L-L, not P-O-O-L. And we'll be doing at the gym tonight, which is going to be back, shoulders, and biceps, because there are some pulling exercises that you can do for the shoulders. This helps strengthen them, which we will be doing, as well as throwing a little bit of abs in there, because that's a pulling motion as well. You pull yourself up, sit up. I did the Air Force fitness test over the weekend. I did max out on my push-ups. My sit-ups sucked, but they were higher than last time, and I was slower on my run. So I got to work on that. Work on my cardiovascular fitness. Anywho, coming up this weekend, it's President's Day weekend, and I actually have so it's a 3-day weekend, obviously, but I actually have a 4-day weekend. My company has a wellness day on Friday, and then, of course, we have the holiday on Monday. So I have off Friday, which is great. And then the kids have off next Tuesday. But we're going to go for the weekend. We're going to ski. And I'm about to get scanned. How's it going, brother? Come on. That's why I leave it up there.
Yeah, just see the front real quick, please. Make it easier. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. He does not have to salute me. I am a civilian. I am a no-name jackass. But whenever they do, I will do my best to return the courtesy. Interestingly enough, and if I am just being a no-name jackass on this, if I'm not fully informed, please feel free to call me out, my 2 podcast listeners. The salute originated from lower-ranking officers to higher-ranking officers. They are the ones who are to initiate it, as far as I know. Because what they are doing is they are showing the higher-ranking officer an open hand, indicating that they are not brandishing any weapon. And just showing the respect to the higher-ranking officer, saying, hey, there's no reason for us to usurp you and your rank over our unit. Basically saying, hey, I'm with you. Here's the salute. I'm not holding the weapon. If I'm wrong on that, somebody call me out, but I'm pretty sure that that's where the salute came from. So, civilians, we do not have to get saluted, nor do we salute members of the military. But I kind of do it all the time with my wife. I kind of give her a little, like if she's riding her Peloton and I'm walking by her, I have to go wake up the kids in the morning, go walk up the stairs, I'll give her a quick one. And there is Denver. City of Denver in the foreground with the Rocky Mountains in the background. And we'll close it down there for today, for Monday morning. Wishing everybody a great Monday. And I'll smell you tomorrow.